A woman who has asked to be called Lee was one of the 9 people who filed complaints with the Ethics Department of the American Psychiatric Association because of harm caused by psychiatric diagnosis. After a few months, the APA summarily dismissed all of the complaints on spurious grounds and without even referring to their merits. For reasons that are personal to Lee, as well as because she has an ongoing proceeding, she does not appear on camera here. This is her story. You call yourselves doctors. You once took an oath to do no harm. Oh, but you did irreversible harm when you diagnosed me as mentally ill. You attributed the adverse effects of psychiatric drugs to my alleged mental disorders. You maintain that psychiatric diagnoses are scientifically grounded. There is no proof they are. There is no objective guide. There are no medical tests. You who created the diagnostic manual should have known. I had difficulty sleeping after my elderly mother died. You gave me benzodiazepine. Well, it helped a bit at first, but then my sleep worsened and I became jittery. I tried to withdraw from the benzodiazepine. I felt horrible. You told me it was because my traumatic childhood. My childhood was not the issue. The issue was your drugs. You didn't recognize my adverse reaction to the benzodiazepine, and you didn't recognize the withdrawal syndrome. You diagnosed me with anxiety disorder and depression. You gave me an antidepressant. I became agitated and developed a major tremor as drug effects. You said I had major depression with agitation. You gave me more antidepressants. The agitation became so severe that I lost my sleep entirely. You gave me sleeping pills. You said I had an adjustment disorder, but the only things I wasn't adjusting to were your drugs. I collapsed frequently. I was taken twice by ambulance to the emergency room. You did not recognize that one of the drugs was causing my blood pressure to drop precipitously. When I started twitching and shaking uncontrollably, you gave me more sleeping pills, to be taken 3 times a day and at night. When I fell asleep during an appointment, you said I had vegetative depression. When I was in constant motion, you said I had bipolar disorder. You then settled on psychotic depression. You gave me antipsychotics. I started howling like a dog. I marched in place. My body movements became chaotic. My face twitched, and my tongue darted in and out of my mouth. You gave me 35 different psychiatric drugs. You gave me a new drug almost every week. You said you were unmasking mental disorders. You didn't allow for a washout period between drugs. You were treating the adverse effects of pharmacy and polypharmacy with more polypharmacy. You remained ignorant of withdrawal effects. Why did I accept all these drugs? Oh, I would have done anything, agreed to anything, and ingested anything to stop the horrendous agitation. It's called akathisia. I couldn't stop moving. You said it was a symptom of my mental illness. You told me I was demented. I was afraid I would kill myself, and I was afraid I wouldn't kill myself. I wrote a living will and a do not resuscitate directive. I gave away my belongings. I wrote farewell letters. I detailed how my ashes were to be disposed. I asked my husband to shave my face. One of your drugs caused the growth of facial hair. My husband watched in helpless disbelief, horror, and grief. I wanted to withdraw from the drugs, and I went to a psychiatric facility for help. You kept me there forcibly. You said I had dissociative identity disorder and somatization disorder. You said I was delusional and violently agitated. You cold turkey me off many of the drugs and wrote that I was an excellent candidate for ECT. I refused treatment, but you coerced my husband into signing. You told him electric shock was the last and only option. You held me for 10 weeks and treated me with 25 general anesthetics and 25 bilateral grand mal seizures. I don't remember much except the assembly line of gurneys on shock days. I shook from terror as I looked up at your cold, matter-of-fact faces and waited for merciful oblivion as the anesthetic hit. You kept me on sleeping pills 3 times a day, once at night. You added new drugs. You told me I would require institutionalization, medication for the rest of my life, and weekly maintenance electric shock treatments. I did not go back for maintenance ECT. I gradually tapered myself off all the drugs. For years, I lived with the fear that you would have me returned to your facility and committed for more electric shock. I was no longer a human being. You could have not been more destructive. You were puzzled by my uncontrollable body movements. You used the best of modern medicine. You sent me for a sleep study, an EEG, a CT scan, and an MRI. The cause of the agitation, however, was sitting right in your own office, on your desk. Your prescription pad, the worst of modern medicine. You gave me 35 drugs in an 8-month period, most in rapid succession in a 4-month period. Monographs for the drugs show that all have similar adverse effects of agitation, insomnia, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Several have black box warnings. You systematically destroyed my brain and nervous system with drugs and electric shock. I have amnesia. More than 20 years of my life are missing. I also have anterograde amnesia, the loss of the ability to create new memories. I have cognitive impairments, optic nerve damage, tremors, seizures, vocal tics, and poor organizational skills. I function with a wall of sticky note reminders. I have been drug-free for many years and see no psychiatrist. I had a spontaneous recovery from every label I had been given when I withdrew from pharmaceuticals. I tried to get help for the trauma I had experienced. You told me what I was saying was libelous and that I had paranoid ideation. Most of my friends are gone. I was too much for them. They weren't enough for me. Mental illness has a stigma. Psychiatric labels stick. I live in terror of those who forgot they once took an oath to do no harm. However, if I met any one of you doctors on the street, I wouldn't recognize you. You stole my memory.